and welcome to another episode of Some of Our Parts, the podcast where two friends talk about the movies that add up to make us who we are. I'm Lindsay,
And I'm Jim.
and this is our 50th episode. We're reaching kind of a
Yay.
milestone, our golden episode, if you will.
And for our 50th, so Lindsay, what monumental film did you pick for us to review this week?
I really thought a lot about this. I had many possibilities that came to mind from my list, but I did think I am, in my heart, a child of the 90s and of the Disney Renaissance. So I was like, I do think that I have to pick a Disney movie. And I picked the one with some of the best music, I think one of the best movies, and the princess that I probably relate to the most. So I picked Beauty and the Beast. That's not me tooting my own horn about how beautiful I am. It's mostly about the books.
This-
I would love for someone to give me a library, is the point.
Well, personally, I think it's a great pick, and I can relate a little bit. And for those of you all who don't know, Lindsay, there's an age difference between Lindsay and I. So, but this was my niece's favorite movie of all time. So this was, I mean, she lived and breathed Beauty and the Beast. So when you and her similar in age, so
Hmm.
this was like, yeah, this was posters, everything, the whole nine yards. So, and I can, like I said, I can appreciate that. And you're right, the music is really good.
Hmm.
The actors first rate, and then of course a classic story.
Yes. I mean, really great cast. Nominated. This was nominated for Best Picture. It wasn't nominated for Best Animated Feature. It was nominated for Best Picture at the Oscars. It didn't win,
But
but
it was in the running.
it was in the running. It's an honor to be nominated as an animated film for that award. But yeah,
And
I don't
I'm
even know if this was my favorite as a kid, but I think it's grown into my favorite as an adult.
Okay, I was going to ask you that. I was just going to ask you now, was this your favorite when you first saw it, or as you seen it, I guess, over and over again, has it become that taken that place in your
I think
heart?
it's taken it. So like for me, kind of the big four that came out around the same time. So I was born in 1990. So it's like Little Mermaid, Beauty and the Beast, Aladdin, Lion
Hmm.
King, right?
Oh,
Those were
okay,
kind of in quick succession.
right.
And I think Aladdin and Little Mermaid were kind of my favorites when I was a kid. I did a lot of like Ariel in the bathtub and I had a blanket that I would make my dad pull me around the linoleum floor on and say it was my magic carpet. So those were kind of the two that like I think resonated with me most as a child, but I do think that like as I grow up, I mean I still love all those movies and they're still really good. It was the Disney Renaissance for a reason. But I think this one, like, there's something about it that I relate to, and like we'll talk more about it when we go through the movie. But I do really like it, and there are things about it that I appreciate that I wouldn't have known as a kid, like the cast. Like I'm a Law and Order head, as we talk about a lot. I watch a lot of SVU, but like or OG Law and Order, and I love Dirty Dancing. So like Jerry Orbach unites like three of my favorite things: Beauty and the Beast, the Law and Order universe, and Dirty Dancing. Jerry Orbach, like
Oh,
covering
and
all bases.
exactly, and some talk about somebody who's multi-talented on so many
Hmm.
levels. So
Yeah,
and across a lot of different platforms. So
right. Then you also have Angela Lansbury, like a legend, the late great Angela Lansbury, just a truly amazing like actor. I think that it has really good songs,
oh
just great
gosh.
songs. I think there is just something like relatable. Like I think with all of these movies, you can't like think about it too hard because it's like this beast took you hostage and then you fall in love with him. Like, oh God. But I do think there is something to like being a person in a town and being like, maybe I don't really fit in here. And like, I think maybe there's something else out there for me. There's something
Hmm.
more.
Hmm.
One of the other things I appreciate is that so the music for this was done by the famous team, Alan Menken and Howard Ashman. So Alan Menken does the music and Howard Ashman does the lyrics. They did Little Shop of Horrors, they did Little Mermaid, and they did Aladdin. Although Tim Rice took over for Howard Ashman partway through because Howard Ashman died before this movie came out. He died of AIDS. Actually, almost it's almost the anniversary. He died in like March 14th. I think, of
Oh,
1991. And so
so
this will be out on March the 10th. So right around this time of year he died, but it's dedicated to him, which I really appreciate. Him and Alan Menken won the Oscar for Best Original Song for Beauty and the Beast, which Jim and I will talk about that we don't necessarily agree with, not because they shouldn't have won, but because they should have won for a different song. Uh, but his like partner got to go accept it, and actually was reading that like he was sick when they were making this,
mhm,
and Disney set up a production unit in New York so that he could work there, like he could get treatments and still work on the movie the whole time, like from his house basically.
okay.
So I thought that that was really nice, and I think sometimes people draw parallels between like the beast and like the experience of AIDS, and like how people like the part in the movie where they first like learn of the beast and they're immediately like, okay, let's go attack him,
Right.
and sort of being like ostracized in that way and seen as dangerous when maybe you're not. So I think like as an adult, those are things that I can look at and appreciate, obviously in a way that like I wouldn't have understood when I was a kid. So that I think is really nice. And it's just like it's sad. I honestly like reflecting on the entire like AIDS epidemic is like just makes me very sad. But I just thought that that was, and it's just like really nice that they did that for him, especially at a time when there was still a lot of stigma.
Oh, sure.
It also makes me sad for right now because I don't know if it was the same situation right now, would a corporation like Disney do that?
Would they be that accommodating or that
Yeah.
understanding?
Yeah.
It's a good. That's an interesting. Yeah, it's a good thought. So it's a good question. So we
Yeah.
don't know.
So that's kind of a bummer to think about, but I'm happy that like it happened the way that it did. But yes, as I mentioned, so like the music was done by people that did the music for like some of my other favorite Disney movies. So you can see why it like resonates. I think they're like such a dream team. Like
Oh
the
gosh.
songs in this movie, in Little Mermaid and Aladdin, and then obviously Little Shop of Horrors is separate, but like those songs are so catchy and
Uh,
like good.
they stay in your head and not for a bad
Exactly.
reason. So
Right. They're catchy, but they're also like emotionally resonant too.
mhm.
Like they could like get you, but also just like be very fun at the same time. The writers and the director are also people that were involved in a lot of other Disney movies. Obviously, I guess Disney's like, you guys are our people, we're sticking around. The movie was directed by Gary Truesdell and Kirk Wise. They also directed The Hunchback of Notre Dame and Atlantis: The Lost Empire, and then worked together on some other things. The writer, so this is obviously based on like fairy tales, as most of these Disney movies are, was originally written, published in 1740 by Gabrielle Suzanne Barbeau de Villeneuve. There's my French for you.
I was just going to say, good job, by the
In
way.
French, it is La Belle, uh,
LaBelle.
La Belle et la Bête.
Okay.
Yeah, Belle means beauty, as they say, as we learn in the song.
Oh,
Um,
well, and what does beast mean? Oh, never mind.
bits. The person who wrote the screenplay was Linda Wolverton, who also wrote the book for the musical. So Beauty and the Beast was the first Disney movie to transition to like a Broadway musical. We know now that like a whole bunch of them are. I've seen it on stage twice.
Oh,
I
okay.
think when I was a kid, I saw it at the Kennedy Center, and then I saw it again as an adult. I took my dad because my dad also loves Beauty and the Beast, and
Well,
it's very
man, a
fun.
man of rare
Actually,
taste.
yes, that's a lie. I've seen it three times because my cousin does musical theater, and I've seen it twice, like professional touring companies. I saw it in a community theater, like smaller theater production that my cousin was in. He played the Beast. He did a great job. The guy who played Gaston did not do a great job. And I was sitting next to my grandmother who kept whispering to me about it. And I was like, please stop whispering to me about it, Grandma, because I'm going to start laughing. And this man on stage is going to know that I'm laughing at him because he's the only one up there.
Oh, not a good look. So,
And my aunt had warned us because like they had like switched Gaston. She was like, "This Gaston's not very good." And then during it, my grandmother, who was like, she's in like her late 70s, she's like, "He's not very good." It's like, Grandma, shh.
Well,
Stop.
how astute of your grandmother not, to, be aware of that. So good for
Yeah.
her.
His singing was not good. It was very
Oh,
easy to tell he was not
oh,
good.
well, yeah, there you
But yeah, my cousin was the Beast and he was great. Just saying.
good, good.
So yeah, Linda Wolverton, she wrote the book for the musical. She also helped write The Lion King. She wrote the Maleficent movies, the Tim Burton like Alice in Wonderland movies. She wrote those. She
Oh,
wrote the book for the musical Aida. She wrote Homeward Bound, the
mm,
first Homeward Bound movie. So Linda Wolverton, like, she's like she started working for Disney, and they were like, "You are with us forever."
exactly. I was getting ready to say, well, hey, nothing succeeds like success. So,
Exactly, exactly. You know what? If it ain't broke, don't fix it.
exactly. Yeah.
Linda
Keep
knows what
cranking
she's
out the
doing.
hits.
Yeah. So we'll go through and talk about the movie.
I was going to ask you before we begin. You were what, 1 year old when this movie came out. So, do you
Yes.
recall? Did you see it at a movie theater at any time? So,
I
okay,
don't
so
think so.
okay,
Unless there was a re-release, but probably I don't think there were re-releases, so
maybe.
maybe, but probably not. Probably not.
Okay,
This is when I probably watched it home. But
okay,
I know I owned it because I watched it a lot. And then
okay.
when DVDs became a thing, I also owned it on DVD.
Gotcha.
So,
Okay.
and I had like the spin-offs too. Beauty and the Beast Enchanted Christmas. Have that too.
Do you have the sing along?
I don't think I do. I think the DVD I have might have that as an
Have
option
that?
that you can turn it
Okay.
on.
Turn
I
it on.
almost went.
Okay.
I did almost go back through and watch it on Disney Plus when the sing along one popped up. I was like, actually, I don't need it though. I don't need the words. I know them
You
already.
know them already because as I was when I watched it on Disney Plus, I saw, because you search for Beauty and the Beast, and then all the other ones come up. So I have not watched the Enchanted Christmas. Is that what it is?
Yes, yes.
So I haven't
There's
seen
an
that.
evil pianoforte named
Ooh.
Forte and a little evil piccolo.
Oh, okay. So
I
I might
guess it
have
sort
to.
of takes place like midway through, like that part where it's like winter. I think it
Mm-hmm.
like maybe takes place like there
Oh, okay.
because he's
So
still a beast in that.
still a beast.
Yeah,
Okay.
I don't remember what happens. I just remember like the pianoforte was the bad guy, and his name was Forte.
Okay.
We can also touch briefly. They made a live action one in like 2017. Watch the original one. The singing is not very good.
Oh, okay. In the remake with Emma Watson, isn't it?
Yes, I think that Emma Watson, like, she does have the vibe, right? But she can't sing that well.
Doesn't
Like
have the pipes.
they have a lot of great people in it. Stanley Tucci is Cogsworth, not giving.
No.
Ewan McGregor as Lumiere, no. Also, it's
No.
weird. It like looks weird because it's just like he's just like an actual like candlestick. You know what I mean? Because it's like live
Oh,
action.
yeah.
I like the feather duster is just a real feather. Like it looks silly. Emma Thompson is Mrs. Potts, which like she's fine as Mrs. Potts, but she can't sing like Angela Lansbury. Luke Evans is Gaston, he can sing, and Josh Gad plays LeFou and he can sing. But
Okay. Who played the Beast?
Dan Stevens from he's on Downton Abbey.
So.
He played Matthew Crawley on Downton Abbey.
Oh, okay. I know who you're talking about then. All
Yeah,
right.
so that guy played the Beast. But yeah, he
Okay.
doesn't really have any songs. He sings a little bit in Something There, but in the stage musical, he has a whole song
Oh, okay.
before the intermission called "If I Can't Love Her," which I do think is a good song because it's like it's basically like he's like Belle is so great. If I can't bring myself to love this person, then like I'm hopeless. Is
Oh,
basically what he's saying.
okay. So, while we're talking about before we begin in this movie, also in the '80s, there was a TV show, Beauty and the Beast,
Mm.
with Ron Perlman and Linda Hamilton,
Yes, I've heard of
which
that.
ran for about, I think, 2.5 or 3 seasons. So, and I remember I was a big fan of that show. One, because I like Linda Hamilton. Those of you who ever watched, Terminator,
Terminator.
Terminator, badass to the bone. Also, used to be married to James
James Cameron. He
James
was married
Cameron.
to everybody because he was married to Catherine Bigelow too, wasn't he?
Yes, of course. And then Ron Perlman. I've always liked Ron Perlman, but he always had his that great craggy face. But anyway, he was the beast, and the makeup was really good, and it was set
I
in
remember
modern
I've seen
times.
pictures of that. Yeah.
Yeah. So, but
I'm
anyway, so
familiar. But yeah, if I can't love her, basically the chorus, if I can't love her, then who? It does. It adds a little something extra.
But that was written for
That's in the musical. Yeah.
the
So
musical. So, but it wasn't written for the movie and then taken out. So,
no, no, no. There is
okay,
another song too in like the updated versions called Human Again, where it's in like you can watch it on the DVD. It's not on the movie on Disney Plus, but all the like Lumiere and Cogsworth and Mrs. Potts, all the, the household
where the
implements are like it's sort of, I think it comes sort of after something there. It's like when they're getting ready for them to have the big dance scene,
mhm.
they're like thinking about how excited they are to be human again, like what they're going to do.
Oh, okay.
It goes like human again, we'll be human again, won't be knickknacks and whatnots no more. I think that one was written for the movie and taken out.
Oh,
So they
okay.
put it in the
Like an
it's
extra thing
yeah, yeah,
of,
yeah. It's like an
yeah.
extra
Oh, okay.
you can watch. But it's because it's like them cleaning the ballroom and singing that. It must be it's between something there and Beauty and the Beast.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Well, shall we talk about the movie?
Let's journey back to France.
Yes. So I do love the opening narration. It's like in a faraway land. And I'm like, France?
Well, as I told Lindsay before we started the broadcast, I was sitting there watching this, and I was sitting there thinking after they started talking, I thought, "Are we in France?" Because it said faraway land, and oh yeah, we are. We're in France. So
Bonjour. Bonjour.
bonjour, mon petit, or whatever. So anyway, yeah. So yes, we're in
Uh,
France.
So, and I will just say, Jim and I were talking about this before we started recording, but the animation is really beautiful. It's like a good mix of like the classic Disney animation that we saw in things like Sleeping Beauty and Cinderella and Snow White, but also it's one of I think it's the second movie to use this particular computer animation. It's CAPS, so computer animation production system, which allows them to blend computer animation with traditional hand-drawn
Yeah.
animation.
Yeah, it
Um,
really is very, very, very good. Especially, I think from the very beginning, the opening, scene of the castle and stuff.
hmm. So we get the backstory, which is kind of told to us through like stained glass. Essentially, this beggar woman, this ugly beggar woman came to the castle and was like, "Can you like give me a place to stay and something to eat?" And the prince was like, "Ew, no, gross, get out." And then the beggar woman was like, "Okay." Then she's like, "Oh, just kidding. I'm a beautiful enchantress, actually." And he's like, "Oh, I was just like, you can come in, you can come in." And she's like, "Nope, too late. You have no love in your heart. You don't understand that beauty is on the inside. So I'm going to turn you into a beast and I'm going to curse your whole castle." Which I was like, Lumiere and them didn't do anything.
I know, but
Why do they have to be items?
well, that was yeah, that was it. Well, I don't know. Was it better to be an item than a beast? I don't know. I don't know.
I mean, couldn't they have just been like, if you're going to make them be stuck there, couldn't they be people still at least? I don't know. I
Uh,
just thought that was a little unfair.
that's what you
But
get
I
for
guess
working
it
for a jerk.
I know. I guess it just raises the stakes of the
Mm,
curse.
yeah, well, exactly. So yeah.
His only window to the outside world is this magic mirror. He can kind of look in it and ask to see what he wants to see. And then he has this rose, which is the rose is the beggar woman was like, all I can give you is this rose. So that
Mm.
rose is actually like a magic rose, and it's kind of like a countdown. So over time, the petals will fall. And when the last petal falls, if he is not like learned how to love and be loved in return, they're stuck this way forever.
And
Uh,
didn't it say before his 21st birthday? So how old was he when the enchantress came to the door and it was like, what was he, like 12? It's
I
like
know.
because they talk
He was
about
like,
years go by and it's like,
yeah.
and he's like,
He was like
well,
Louis the 14th. He was a child prince, Le Dauphin.
I guess, and couldn't she have cut him a break if he was a little kid? But anyway,
Right.
just
Yeah,
saying.
lots of questions about this
Mhm.
enchantress. I know we're trying to teach people lessons, but like let's balance things out here. Essentially they say then the beast fell into despair, for who could ever love a beast? Cut to
Mhm.
Belle.
Mhm.
And we get our first song. The song is called Belle. I love it because it's basically her being like, this town sucks, and everybody in town being like, she's a weirdo, is basically the gist of this number. But it's great because we get It's sort of like it's an easy introduction to like the town, right? Like
Mhm.
she's just walking through, she's going to the bookshop, you know, little town, it's a quiet village. And this is also in case you didn't know it was France.
Yeah.
As soon as she walks into town, everybody opens up their windows and goes, bonjour, 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 bonjour. They're selling baguettes and stuff. Marie, the baguettes, hurry up.
Oh, that's right. I forgot about that. Yeah. So
I know all the words. It's a problem.
it
um,
it it's fine. No.
um, all of it. Like, I need 6 eggs. That's too expensive. She's basically saying about how I want much more than this provincial life. So it's the I want song. We get a reprise of it a little bit later where she goes more into it. You can tell everyone thinks she's beautiful but weird. And they're like, why is this woman reading? This woman is like thinking and learning?
It-
What?
exactly. Yeah. Like, girl, please.
But she goes to the bookshop, and the guy there is really nice to her. First of all, it's a bookshop with a rolling ladder, which is really all I ever want in the world is to have a set of
Uh,
bookshelves with a rolling ladder. Who doesn't?
I, agreed. Like in My Fair Lady, when he
Mm-hmm.
has these library, I love, if I had like all the money that,
Exactly. Like
the
that's how you'll
first,
know I've made it.
I would build the library and then build the rest of the house around it. So,
Exactly.
mhm.
Exactly. But I do a rolling ladder and also like a secret room behind the bookshelf.
Oh yeah, 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 yeah.
Do
Or
both.
maybe, and also maybe one of those little circular
Mm,
staircases that goes up.
mm.
You could go up to like to the top, maybe another level of the library.
Love
So,
that. Love that. Like
so
like the library we see later.
yeah.
Um so but yeah, there's a book she keeps reading. He's like, "Oh, you can have it." And she's like, "Great." It's nice too. I also like, and this is like a thing in musicals, so it's not like unique to this movie, but when they use the same like tune in multiple songs. So like in this song where she's sitting and reading her book and she's surrounded by sheep and she's telling the sheep about the book. But she goes like, "Oh, isn't this amazing?" That is the same tune from the song Something There, like new and a bit alarming. It's the same, and it's just like a
Oh,
nice like auditory motif that carries through.
mm-hmm.
Yeah, I wrote in my notes, reading a book multiple times, relatable. The latter. Partway through the song, we meet a new character, and his name is Gaston. And he's like, well, his vibe basically is, well, I'm hot. She's hot. We're getting married.
Right. And we're
Um,
yeah, we're gonna have kids and yeah, this is yeah.
Strapping young boys.
Yes.
So yeah, he's like a big one might call him like a himbo. He's big and dumb and like muscular, but he's not a nice himbo. He's mean. He's a
I
bad
even
guy.
wrote he's a jerk.
He's a dick, yeah. And he
Yeah.
has a little guy that follows him around. His little henchman is named Le Fou, which is supposed to sound like the fool. Fou means like crazy in French, but you know,
Oh, okay.
kind of same deal. And then he also has these three women that just follow him and go, "Huh," sigh heavily whenever they see him. They go, "Oh, Gaston, you're so handsome." Is like their vibe, basically.
They all look like triplets. I mean,
Yeah.
they're don't they? I mean, they're all like the
Yes.
same. They all look identical. So
Yeah, they just have different color dresses and like the bow in
right,
their hair is in a different spot.
different. Yeah. So
But yeah, so he's basically singing that like he's gonna marry her. The lucky girl I'm going to marry.
mhm. Yep.
Um,
Yeah. That
he
she can't do any better than him. So
Yeah. He goes to her, he takes her book, and he's like, "What are you doing? You're gonna start getting ideas." And she's like, she basically calls him dumb, and he's like, "Why, thank you." She's obviously not interested, but he like can't take the hint. They call her dad crazy, which is like also maybe not the way to win a woman over. And she's like, "My dad isn't crazy. He's like the greatest inventor in the world." And just when that happens, there's like an explosion from her house.
and
um
smoke coming out of the windows and yeah,
Yeah, so she like runs off. So yeah, I wrote like Belle says he's a genius, but I'm like maybe he's more like a mad scientist is kind of
little yeah. And there's this isn't the first time in a Disney movie we've seen sort of like if the Sword and the Stone, Merlin, they portray,
mm-hmm,
sort of like the same way, and
little
he's got
kooky.
that kind of, odd, thing about him, you know, and then yeah, we see her dad.
Yeah. Also, like many Disney movies, she only has one parent. Her other parent has died. We don't really learn anything about that. I will say in the live action one, they
Hmm.
show the mom dying of the plague at the beginning.
Ooh,
Yeah.
man,
With the plague mask, like the bird mask thing and everything.
really?
Hmm.
Oh gosh.
Yeah.
Ooh.
So presumably her mom is dead, like in most Disney movies. A
Yeah,
parent has to die.
right, one of the parents is dead, right? Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
God forbid there should be two loving, caring
Right.
parents to a child. Well, in Walt's defense, these stories were written long before he ever came along. He just put them on the screen. So
He actually made them nicer in most
yeah, that's
cases.
true. Yeah, Little
Yeah.
Mermaid.
Little Cinderella.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So, anyways, Belle goes home. Her dad is supposed to be going to some fair the next day, but his invention does not work. So I'm like, what are you doing? But he manages to get it to work. It's like some contraption that will chop wood by itself. Which, like, honestly, with all that effort, just chop your own damn wood. But good for you. They're like, you're going to be a world famous inventor. Great. So he heads off on their horse, Philippe, and they get lost in the scary, spooky woods.
There's a
And
lot
it's
of
like,
scary, spooky woods in these movies too.
indeed, indeed. But I guess it's like it's the 1700s, so like there's no like there aren't cities, so it's just like you have your tiny little town and everything else is just scary spooky woods or like
Works for me.
fields.
You're
Um
right.
so, the wind is blowing, like animals are making noises. Philippe is skittish.
Freaking.
Yeah. And they eventually get to like the castle and Philippe is like no thank you and he runs away.
But in Philippe's defense, he tries to take him on the right path, but Maurice
Yeah.
says, "Oh no, 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 we got to go this way," and
Yes.
he takes him down the wrong path, and then yeah, Philippe is like, "Yeah, I'm
I
out."
told you which way to go.
Yeah. So,
So,
I told Lindsay I really like the way Disney animates animals. So I just
hmm
they're so well they make them like people to me, and then
yeah, all the animal sidekicks always have so much personality. Yeah, that's, I mean, some of them the animals talk, so it's like not the same, but like even the animals that don't talk still have a lot of personality
personality, yeah, even
to
their
them.
facial expressions and stuff. So they're just so
Hmm.
well done. So anyway,
Yes,
I always
yes.
enjoy that. So
So Maurice ends up at the castle. So he's like, oh, okay, well, like this is a building. People are probably in it. Someone will help me. He little does he know. So he goes in, and there's a clock that's talking, and also a candlestick that's talking. And he's like, what? Lumiere is the name of the candlestick, and he's like, well, we should help. And then the clock, his name is Cogsworth, is like, well, no, Master will be mad. You
mhm.
need to leave, sir. But he's very cold and he's an old man. So they sit him in front of the fire in the chair, which is the beast chair, which is a bigger no no. You should know if you go to a man's home, he has his recliner. You can't sit in it.
That's right. Not unless he offers. You don't take the boss's chair. So
Yes. So, the little dog footrest comes and Mrs. Potts and Chip come to give him some tea. Mrs. Potts being a teapot and Chip being a little chipped teacup. They are presumably mother and son. We'll touch back on that later. And, he's like, oh, great. Thank you guys. I'm getting warmed up. But then the beast comes. And
oh
in like a sort of like gust of wind, the fire goes out. He's like snarling and growling. And like, this is the first time that we've seen the beast. He's not like an animal. He's literally like a beast. He's like big and he can like be on all fours or up on his hind legs, but they are like legs like a dog. They're shaped like, they're not human legs. They're like the way that like a dog or cat,
yeah.
like a quadruped's like back legs are shaped with like the big like haunches and like that sort of joint bending like the other way kind of. And he has like horns and big sharp teeth and like
And like claws,
claws.
claws. He reminds me of like a big werewolf, except he's got
Yeah.
horns. So, but
Yes.
like a but yeah, that's. Does he have a tail?
I think he has like a small tail, not like a super long one, but I think he does have a tail.
I couldn't remember, so I was just thinking about that.
He takes Maurice away. He picks him up because he's very strong. He just picks up this
Yeah.
grown man
Yeah.
very
Yeah.
easily.
And he's
And
not
the
happy that he's there.
no. And the rest of them are like, ooh.
But master, we were only trying to help.
Yeah. Should we talk about who's who
Yes.
before we
Yeah.
go on? So,
So
so Belle is voiced by Paige O'Hara, and like Belle's kind of her main gig. So she voiced Belle in like anytime Belle is somewhere is Paige O'Hara. Like
got it.
she's like I think in one of the Wreck-It Ralph movies, there's a scene with all the princesses. Like she's Belle in that scene. And that movie came
Well,
out
I
like
came out long after this
yeah.
did. So that was
So
like,
she's been like, when there were like Disney TV shows and like Enchanted Christmas, she's Belle. Paige
she's
O'Hara is
also
Belle.
the singing voice for Belle, correct?
Yes.
Okay. So she does
Yes.
the both speaking and the singing. And
Mm-hmm.
she does have a very nice voice.
Yes, indeed. The Beast is he's played by Robbie Benson, who was apparently a teen idol in the 70s. He was in Ode to Billy Joe, One on One, Ice Castles.
Wait a minute. What do you mean? Supposedly, or whatever. You don't really.
Oh, I don't remember the 70s.
Hold on, girl. So,
Yeah.
so yeah, Robbie was the man. I still remember him one on one with Annette O'Toole because I hated the fact that he got Annette O'Toole. So
Mm,
because he didn't deserve Annette. So,
of course, of
but
course.
yeah, so Robbie's 2 years older than I am, which makes Robbie Benson 69, folks. By the way, just to let you know. So
There
yeah,
you go.
creeping
Um,
up there.
in the 90s, he also directed some episodes of Friends.
Oh, I didn't know
Um,
that.
and currently he is back on television as he's in the show Severance on Apple TV.
Oh,
He
really?
plays Dr. Mauer, so he's like a bad
Ooh,
guy on
ooh.
Severance.
Oh, cool. So I
So
always
yeah,
liked Robbie. I always liked
he's
him.
still around. He's still doing things on a critically acclaimed television program. So good for Robbie Benson.
Yeah.
I think he also voiced the Beast in like a bunch of other things. But
Well, why
he's
wouldn't you? You know, if you
right.
had the chance. So if somebody said, "Oh, you'd like to be the Beast again?" Sure.
Exactly. Keep them residuals coming, buddy.
Exactly. Exactly.
Gaston is voiced by Richard White, who also like has done Gaston in like all the they had like a Disney like House of Villains show. He did that. Like he's Gaston all the time. I will also say I have seen him in real life. My cousin who does musical theater did a production of Man of La Mancha, and Richard White was the lead in it. So
Oh,
I was like, "Oh my god.
it's
My
Gaston.
cousin's in a play with Gaston." He played the lead, which is Miguel de Cervantes and Don Quixote. Sounded lovely.
Did
It
he?
is it is funny that like when he starts singing, I'm like he's singing Dulcinea or whatever, and I'm like,
Mm-hmm.
wait a minute, that
He
voice.
does have a very rich voice. I mean, the
Mhm.
speaking voice and stuff. So I'm assuming that his singing voice, because he does have, Gaston
Yeah.
has a song. So
Yes, yes. So we get to some of the heavy hitters here. Lumiere
Mhm.
is voiced, as I mentioned earlier, by Jerry Orbach. You probably have seen him in something. If you've seen any of the original Law and Order, Detective Lenny Briscoe, that's Jerry Orbach. If you have seen Dirty Dancing, Dr. Houseman, Baby's dad, that is Jerry Orbach. Like,
Yep.
also an icon of the stage.
Yes. Started in the Fantastics when first came to Broadway
Mhm.
in the 50s and made his mark there, but and also was the original in Chicago, played the attorney. Also, evidently or apparently, from what all stories,
Billy Flynn.
Billy
Billy
Flynn,
Flynn.
excuse me, one hell of a pool player.
Hmm. Interesting.
They said that he used to hustle people for money for playing pool. So,
Hmm.
but
Fun fact. But yeah,
yeah,
love
yeah,
Jerry Orbach. May he rest in peace. He does such a
yes,
good French accent. He's such a good singer. It's just funny to think of like if you watch like Law and Order and then you watch this like back to back. Uh,
exactly. So, but yeah, extremely talented, and yes, and gone way too soon.
yes. Cogsworth is voiced by David Ogden Stiers, who also did some TV work. He was on MASH as Dr. Winchester.
Oliver
Um,
Winchester. So yeah.
yes. He was also on Perry Mason. He was his voice in some other Disney movies. He was Governor Ratcliffe in Pocahontas, so he's the bad guy in Pocahontas. And in Lilo and Stitch, he's Dr. Jumba, which is like the big guy that invented Stitch and all the other like
Oh,
experiments.
oh, okay.
That's him too. Mrs. Potts is voiced by Angela Lansbury, who we have met previously on this podcast in The Manchurian Candidate. But she was also, I think many people know her for being on Murder, She Wrote for a million years. She was also like a veteran of the stage. She was in things like Mame and Sweeney Todd and
Mhm.
all sorts of things. She was in the movie Gaslight. I think that was her first movie role when she was really, really young. She was in Bedknobs and Broomsticks. She's
I wrote that down because I remember that from Disney. That was one of my
hmm.
favorite Disney movies.
She was another animated film. She was the grandmother in Anastasia, not a Disney movie, but another animated
Hmm.
film that the 90s kids will know. So, another, I think, icon. I think like Angela Lansbury and Jerry Orbach are probably like the two
Oh yeah, they're
peak
just.
people
Mhm.
here. Chip is voiced by Bradley Pierce, who played Peter in Jumanji. So in Jumanji, with like
Oh,
he's the boy that like gets turned into a monkey
okay.
in sheets. He was one of in like the original Sonics. He was the voice of Tails, and he was also in the movie The Borrowers.
Oh well, he's done a lot of work then.
Hmm. Maurice, who's Belle's dad, he's voiced by Rex Everhart, who was in the
Excuse me.
1978 Superman. He was also in Friday the 13th. I think they said he's a truck driver in Friday the 13th. Um,
Beats me.
yeah, I don't know.
Mhm.
And then LeFou is voiced by Jesse Cordy, who he didn't have when I looked him up. Nothing like really stood out, but a lot of like small and voice roles. So, he's working. So good for
Mm.
him.
He had that character had a pretty big part though in the movie. I thought,
Hmm.
for because he was. I won't say he was in almost every scene that Gaston was in.
Yeah, and he sings
Yeah,
the
and has a lot
song.
of dialogue and
Hmm.
yeah, no
And I
one
think his
can.
voice has a lot of like character,
Mm-hmm.
because he has to be like really kind of goofy. He's like, oh, Gaston. Like that sounded like goofy, but that didn't sound like him. But you know what I mean? Like
No, 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 yeah. So,
he's got a goofy voice. So
and that's one of the songs that keeps running through my head. By the way,
I think about that whenever
when he
I
sings about
see,
Gaston.
yeah, whenever I see like a big, like buff dude, like Henry Cavill.
Yeah, he
Like
would be
Henry
a
Cavill
good
looks
live
like
action
Gaston,
Gaston. Yeah.
right? If I ever like was around Henry Cavill and he was sad, I would be like, "Gosh, it disturbs me to see you, Gaston, looking so down in the dumps." That's how I would cheer him up. I would turn into LeFou.
I'm sure it would bring a smile to his face too.
I'm
So,
roughly the size of a bark. Like
yeah,
exactly. That's a really good song. We'll get to that though. So, anyways, back to the story. Maurice has just been snatched up by the beast. Back in the village, unbeknownst to Belle, outside of her home, Gaston is setting up a wedding for her. So the last piece is just that he has to go, like, be like, hey, by the way, we're getting married. Because she is unaware.
yeah, because he tells, I guess I better go ask her to marry me,
Yeah.
but he already has like the band and a minister and food. It's like,
Mm-hmm. He's got a whole thing set up. The girls, the triplets are crying.
oh gosh, yeah, weeping their eyes out, so ruining their makeup.
So he knocks on the door. I do love that they have a little invention that's like a peephole. It's like a periscope, but to
Yeah,
look periscope combined with a front door peephole to see who's outside.
well, you got to remember. I just now thought of something. Don't forget now, this is the 1700s, and Jules Verne, gave us 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea. So maybe
Mm-hmm.
maybe France was full of these little inventors. We just didn't hear of this stuff. So
Could be. Anyways, Gaston is like, he busts in and he's like, hey, wouldn't it be great for you if you married me? Wouldn't that be a privilege? And she's like, oh, I just don't deserve you, Gaston.
yeah, I
And
love
she
that.
basically tosses him out into a mud puddle. The band was queued up to start playing like Here Comes the Bride, so they start playing that even though he's like face down, butt up in a puddle of mud. And he's um undeterred. He's like, "She will be my wife."
Yeah, it's sort of like spurred him on rather than sort of like gave him the idea that he was on a fool's errand. So
Yeah, he really took the
Did,
opposite message of what she was sending.
didn't quite get the hint. Subtlety is lost upon Gaston.
Not
So
at all. Yeah, that was about as subtle as a slap in the face.
exactly, yeah.
Then we get the reprise of Belle. We get another little song. And this part, I think, like, as an adult, I like this part a lot.
Okay.
Because she's kind of just talking to herself. She's like, slash, like, whatever animals are around, because, Disney princesses love talking to animals. She's like, can you believe this? Me marry that, like, buffoon, basically.
Yeah.
Madame Gaston, can you just see it? And she's like, I'm not trying to. No, sir, not me. I
Right.
guarantee it. Is our actual lines.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, but I like it because it's like this is again. This is the like I want thing. I want much more than this provincial life, and she like goes out into the field, and the music swells. It's like do 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 do
It's very nice. Yeah, it's
do.
great. It's almost like the Sound of Music thing, where
Yeah, which is the
where
hills are
yeah,
alive.
exactly. Yeah, so it's sort of
Um,
what
but she says it's very short, but she says, I want adventure in the great wide somewhere. I want it more than I can tell. And for once it might be grand to have someone understand. I want so much more than they've got planned. Which I just really like.
uh-huh.
Because
Yeah,
also like who doesn't want that? You know?
exactly.
So she's having her moment, and then Philippe comes galloping up without Maurice on him.
Right. But he still has his invention.
Yes. And she's like, oh no, like something happened to my father. So she gets on the horse and he leads her to the castle where Maurice, he last saw him, basically.
Can I
Mhm.
am I the only one that thought, is this like Lassie? It's like
Right?
Philippe, what happened to Dad? It's like
Because she is like asking him. It's
I
like,
know.
he can't tell you. It's not Mr. Ed.
But it's like, did Timmy fall down a well? It's like, it's like,
He has a great sense of direction.
hey, Philippe knows, he just,
Yeah. Yep.
so, uh,
And good for Philippe because he was not trying to go to that castle before, but he did brave the trip again to take Belle to save her father.
knowing what was going to, be waiting on him because,
Hmm.
he was scary the night before. So,
Yeah. So she goes right in. These people this is a rude family with no manners, just busting into people's houses. Just,
exactly.
I assume they think it's abandoned because it looks like it is.
It
Think
is
it's
kind of scary
overgrown
looking.
and
Yeah.
gray and stuff.
And it's got
Um,
like a lot of the, ogres and,
so many gargoyles.
gargoyles.
Yeah.
That's the word I was looking for. Sorry.
Yeah.
So,
They're good. But she finds Maurice in the dungeon and she's like, "Oh my God, like Dad, I have to save you." And he's like, "Get out. Get out of here."
yeah.
Meanwhile, the household objects see that she's there, and Lumiere's like, "Oh my God, a girl. You know what that means? She can break the spell." And the beast confronts her, and she basically says, "Listen, let my father go. He's obviously sick. He's old. I will stay here. Like, take me in exchange for him." And the beast is like,
Right.
"Well, you have to stay here forever." And she's like, "Okay, if you'll free my dad, I'll stay here forever." And the beast is like, "Deal." And immediately he just like snatches up Maurice and throws him into that like
That was kind of cool. The
that
carriage
carriage that's like
that
it moves its legs like a spider.
I know it walks on its own because he goes, take him to the village. And it's like,
It's like, okay.
yeah,
It
it's
like
like,
untangles itself from the brush and starts moving. It's like it reminds me of Dr. Lovelace from Wild Wild West.
oh
His like
God.
wheelchair
Yes,
had
I
the spider
do.
legs.
Yes, that's exactly what it looks like.
Belle's now his prisoner, and Lumiere's like, "Hey, what if you let her have a room?" He's like, "Oh yeah, that's probably a good idea." She's very sad because he didn't even let her say bye to her dad.
I
He was just like,
know.
"Oh, you're gonna trade? Deal. Get out." Like
Right. Yeah.
throws him
Boom.
out. She's like, "I
Um,
couldn't even be like, bye, dad, I love you." Damn. He takes her through the castle. He is gonna give her a room. Again, I did write in my notes, truly filled with gargoyles. Every square inch of this, like the walls, are
I
covered in gargoyles.
I wrote this is like the scariest castle since Dracula. It's like,
Exactly.
yeah, it's like, and well, later on yeah, so but it's like, damn, whoever did your interior decorating sucked,
Right. They
So,
love gargoyles in France, I guess, because in Hunchback of Notre
oh
Dame, all of
yeah.
his friends are gargoyles.
Well,
All of Quasimodo's friends are talking gargoyles.
and then in the real movie with Charles Lawton, I mean, that's they use it like to remember. Well, that's where he pours the hot lead and stuff. But that's where I guess it's rain spouts,
Hmm.
out of the gargoyles. I guess it may be supposed to scare evil spirits away. I don't know.
Who knows?
I don't know. But aren't there a lot of gargoyles like on some of the buildings in
There's
Europe?
like statues,
That's what I
but not
mean. Yeah.
like there are a lot of statues. I wouldn't say they're all like gargoyles. Like,
Oh,
because
okay.
you know what I mean? Like they're like saints and
Oh,
people
okay.
and
Okay.
stuff. Like on Notre Dame, I don't remember there being gargoyles, but there's like people,
Yeah,
saints,
like saints. Yeah.
religious
Okay.
figures.
Okay.
Um, anyways, he says you can go anywhere in the castle except the West Wing, and she's like, "Well, what's in the West Wing?" And he goes, "It is forbidden."
The president.
Exactly. Jed Bartlett.
Yeah,
Um,
exactly. Yeah.
and then Lumiere is like, you should invite her to dinner. And he's like, you will join me for dinner because he doesn't understand what invitation means. She's not into it. She just throws herself on the bed and starts crying,
Oh,
basically.
yeah. Yeah. She's like, yeah.
So,
Well, you can't really blame her. I mean, dad
yeah.
laughed and
She lost her freedom and her I think Mrs. Potts says she lost her freedom and her father in like one day. In like 5 minutes. So, it's been a day for her.
it's yeah, about pretty much. So,
Speaking of people who are not happy, back in the village,
oh,
Gaston is down at the tavern, at the lodge or whatever. And he's a little down because he can't handle rejection and he can't take a hint. So LeFou's like, come on, you got to pull yourself together. And then they launch into the song Gaston, which is just all about how great and strong Gaston is. He has a big old thick neck and he's strong and he can spit and he's hairy and he eats a bunch of eggs.
dude, I do like that. And every inch of me is covered in
And
hair.
every last inch of me's covered with hair. And he like pulls open his shirt and he's got a
Shirt,
hairy
yeah.
chest.
And he talked, yeah,
Another good reason why Henry Cavill could be him. Yeah, it's a very fun song.
it is, and it's very well done because like the whole tavern sort of joins in, always
Hmm.
the hangers on and stuff like that.
Yes,
So
and you know what I love about these Disney songs? You can always learn a good a word because they said that no one spits like Gaston. He goes, "I'm especially good at expectorating," and I'm like,
I
"Oh, well, now I'm a child and I know what expectorating means, and it
I
means
I would
spitting."
I wrote that. Oh yeah, that's nice. They put in the fancy word for spitting. So
Vocabulary, yeah.
mm-hmm,
I
mm-hmm.
will say in the musical, they do a fun little dance where they all have like the like pewter mugs, the little like
Yeah.
hummels, and they do like a dance where they like clink them
Oh,
together in like a
okay.
whole choreographed dance. But yeah, this is a very fun song.
It is.
If I ever knew like a really big buff guy who was sad, I would sing this to him.
And I'm sure it would bring him right out of his dumps.
I think
So
it would. I think it
yeah.
would. I would really
Just
I could really put it
hopefully his
on.
name is Gaston.
Yeah. Well, I could, you could
Oh,
sub
I
it
guess you
in.
could substitute, right? Yeah. So
Hmm.
yeah. Hmm.
My aunt and uncle have a dog named Gaston. They have a beagle named Gaston. So shout out to him. No one's slick as Gaston. No one's quick as Gaston. No one's neck's as incredibly thick
I
as
guess
Gaston.
Gaston.
It's a
Now you
great
got
song.
me doing it.
I know.
It's fine.
Sorry.
No, it's fine. No. So I told you there's a lot of songs from the movie after I watched this,
Yeah,
run
they're
through my
like they're
head.
earworms. I hope everyone, if you're listening to this, just whatever your music app of choice is, you got to switch over after you listen to this and just listen to the songs.
Click on one of them at least. Yeah.
Hmm.
So come on.
Pick your favorite. So, as they're wrapping up this song, Maurice comes busting in. He has made it back to the village, and he's like, "Hey, you have to come help me get Belle." He has Belle, And he's like, the beast has her. And they're all like, oh, is he a big, scary beast? And he's like, yes, he is. They're like, oh, he's like 8 feet tall. And they're like, he's like, yeah, he is. Oh, he's got yellow eyes and big teeth. No, like, actually, he does. Can you help him? And they're like, ha ha ha, you're a crazy old man. And they literally throw him out, like in the snow.
Oh, I know it's terrible.
And then I love this line. They're kind of still singing, but Gaston says, he's like, LeFou, I'm afraid I've been thinking. It's a dangerous pastime, I know. That
And he talks
line.
about the wheels are turning,
Yes.
and
So basically, he decides he wants to use Maurice as like a bargaining chip to get Belle to marry him, which, you know, not a bad idea because obviously she is willing to give up her freedom for Maurice. The problem is she doesn't currently have her freedom to give up to
exactly.
Gaston.
Of course, in Gaston's defense at this point, he doesn't know that. He just thinks Maurice is nuts.
Yeah, I
So,
mean, to be fair, Maurice told him, he just doesn't believe him.
well, true, yeah. So,
So anyways, back at the castle, Belle's crying, and then Mrs. Potts and Chip come in. This is her first encounter with the talking stuff, and she's like, "Oh," because then the wardrobe also talks, and she's like, "Oh my god!" It's like, what is happening?
and can I introduce the wardrobe lady? Because
Yes,
the wardrobe is played by Joanne Worley, who
yes,
I love from Rowan and Martin's Laugh In show.
mm-hmm,
And she was
mm-hmm.
like ditzy and, plays a ditzy character, and she, woo, but she's very out boisterous and outspoken and stuff. So, and I really thought that she did a good job with this. So,
Yes, yes. So she's the wardrobe is a former opera singer, so she kind of talks in like this voice.
yeah,
Oh, so they're trying to comfort her. The wardrobe is like, "Oh, I have a dress you can wear to dinner," and Belle's like, "I'm not going to dinner." And they're like, "Oh, but he told you to go to dinner," and she's like, okay, and I'm already his prisoner. Like, what's it gonna do?"
right.
Um, the Beast is vexed, I will say, because he's kind of
Oh, I like that.
he's
That's
like
good.
stressed out and he's kind of mad because he's like, why isn't she down here for dinner? He's pacing in front of the fire.
Hmm.
And Lumiere's like, did you ever think she could maybe break the curse? And he's like, of course I thought about that. That's why I'm stressed. Um, and Lumiere and Mrs. Potts try to help, right? They're like, you have to be like nice and all this stuff. And they're like, but above all, and this is a refrain for him, you have to control your temper. And then Cogsworth has gone to fetch her, and she said, I'm not coming. So he comes back, and the Beast is like, where is she? And he's like, oh, she's not coming. And the Beast is like, what? So he ignored the control your temper advice immediately. He's like, I will break down her door and bring her down here, which is exactly what a lady wants to hear.
Exactly. So,
You know who he sounds like? Gaston.
mm,
So he goes up, and instead of being like, hey, I know it's been a hard day, but like, come eat with me. It'll be
yeah,
good.
he
He's
must
like,
be hungry.
right. He's like, you eat with me or you don't eat at all. And she's like, then I'll starve. And he's
And
like,
then he's like,
fine.
wait a minute. That didn't turn out the way he thought. So,
Right. He's like, eat with me or you don't eat. And she goes, then I'll starve. And he goes, fine, fine, fine. They're doing like that. Fine. He says that he feels like she can only see him as a monster. And it's like, well, sir, the problem here is that you are acting like a monster,
right. So, yeah,
which,
yeah.
he does, to his credit, get it eventually. It just takes him a minute to get it.
And
But
I do
yeah.
appreciate that Lumiere is like, he's like, now, master, be nice, be a gentleman. He's
Hmm.
always trying to, like trying to steer him in the right direction. So,
Yes. And of course, Lumiere is like the ladies' man of the
oh,
staff.
yeah, yeah.
He hooks up with the feather duster, who, like, she doesn't have a name in the movie, but she has names and like the other things. But she's like, woohoo, Lumiere. So that's like his little girlfriend, his petite amie, if you will.
Oh,
Um, so he has the advice, the love advice.
right. Yeah, because
Uh,
Cogsworth seems kind of
he's a little stuffy.
stuffy. Yeah, that's a good word for it.
He has the like protocol. Lumiere's like, this is how you get the girls,
Right.
sir.
Lumiere is the romantic.
Indeed.
He's the suave debonair of the
Hmm.
pair.
Yeah. So later, Belle like is hungry though, and she's like, "Well, I'm gonna get me something to eat." So
Yeah.
she's sneaking around. And this Lumiere finds her because he was making out with the feather duster behind a tapestry, as one does. Mrs. Potts is putting Chip to sleep in the cupboard, which is so sweet. Um, and then Belle comes to the kitchen, and then Lumiere and Cogsworth are there. And Lumiere's like, "Oh yeah, we'll make you some food." And Cogsworth is like, "No, we won't."
The master says she's not going to eat,
And Lumiere's like, "We can't like let her not eat. She's hungry." So like, we're gonna make her food. And here we get, would you say the best song?
in my opinion, very much so. Yes, the
Mm-hmm.
best song of the movie. So,
Yes. So this is
and
not
one of
the
the best
one.
songs of a lot of songs, I think.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. No, I agree. It like it's just such a good song. Like I have visions one day of like convincing like if I have a baby, convincing my baby to eat by performing this song as I give try the gray
Oh,
stuff. It's delicious, you know?
yes.
Um
Oh,
so
yeah,
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 this
I forgot about
it'll
that.
work perfectly.
Yeah,
So I will just say, stepping in here, Be Our Guest, Beauty and the Beast, and Belle all nominated for Best Original Song at the Oscars, and Beauty and the Beast won. Whatever. I would not, I would put it as the third of the three for me. I would say Be Our Guest and Belle rank above it.
I would agree wholeheartedly with you on
But
that.
it's
Yes.
also like the emotional like crescendo of the movie, so like I get it. And
Yeah, but
also Alan Menken won Best Original Score at the Oscars
for the
for
whole
the
thing,
whole
right?
movie. Yes. Yes. And it was nominated for Best Sound and it didn't win that. And it didn't win Best Picture. It did win Best Picture at the Golden Globes, though. It
It,
won Best Picture Musical or Comedy at the Golden Globes.
oh, it did.
Mm-hmm.
So Silence of the Lambs won.
Oh, well, it's a very different tone.
Hmm.
That is really
Hmm.
funny.
Um,
Um the nominees. Oh my god, it's like Silence of the Lambs, Beauty and the Beast, JFK.
well, The Prince of Tides and Bugsy. So,
That's a
I mean, you had like four downer movies, and then you had Beauty and the Beast.
yeah. Anyways, so we get Be Our Guest. And this is great because it's really just like it's Jerry Orbach and Angela Lansbury, who were like the two icons. I sent like months ago Jim a video that I found on Instagram. I have to find it again of them like showing them recording it. Remember I sent you that?
Yes.
And it's like them recording it like with the orchestra and everything. And it's so this would be a fun movie to see. You know when they do those things with like the orchestra and
Yeah.
playing a movie. That would be fun to see. But this is just a great fun song. The production, it's like and seeing it like on stage too is like such a fun number because it's like all of the candles and all the dishes and the food and like
Yeah,
everything.
it's
It's such a
everything.
big production number. It is with deepest pride and sincerest pleasure that I proudly present your dinner.
And
Be
again, like you said,
our
Jerry Orbach is just,
guest.
French kiss,
Oui.
don't you think?
Bisous.
And
No, it's so
Jerry's
good.
from New York. He's about as New York as they get.
Yeah,
So
like the Lenny the way he talks with Lenny Briscoe is the way he talks.
exactly.
You
So
can see like if you watch the video of the making, like he's talking to the people like that, and then he's like,
then he's
"Be
Lumiere.
our
Yeah.
guest, be our guest, put our service to the test." It's just such a good song. Tie your napkin around your neck, Sherry, and we provide the rest. Soup du
and
jour,
the
hot or
and the
not.
visual aids to it, like you said. I
Yes,
mean, it's like Fantasia, where
yes.
and
Like
where
when
Mickey
he
does.
says, "Try the gray stuff; it's delicious." Don't believe me? Ask the dishes. They can sing. They can, and then the dishes are dancing and spinning and like
Yeah, it's a feast for the eyes and the
yes,
ears.
yes. Angela Lansbury's talking about, "I get warm, piping hot. Heaven's sakes, is that just spot? Clean it up. We want the company impressed." It's just a great, great song. And it's funny after that, she's like eating and talking to Cogsworth and Lumiere, and she talks about the castle being enchanted, and Cogsworth is like, "Oh, who told you?" And she was like, I like figured it out.
Yeah, it's like I kind of got that on my own. Yeah,
Could it be all the sentient household objects that are speaking to me
and
right now?
right,
I'm
yeah,
talking to a clock.
yeah. who can answer. So
Yeah. She wants to look around, and Cogsworth is kind of like, oh, I don't know if you should do that. And she's like, oh, will you give me a tour? And then he's like, oh, yeah, 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 for sure. Because he's like the major domo of the household. So he's like, over here is a 17th century tapestry and blah, 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 blah. And he does say, I do love this. He makes a joke. He says, if it's not Baroque, don't fix it. I was like, that's a good one.
that is, it's
Um, he talks about, I will say, this is a point. He talks about showing her the flying buttresses. Flying buttresses are outside. They're not inside details. They're outside.
yep.
They're on the, if you ever have been to Notre Dame, they're structures on the outside to help strengthen walls so you can put stained glass in, basically.
Oh, okay. I know they help support the walls, but I didn't know it was
Yeah.
because of the weight of the stained glass. So
Yeah, because obviously that takes away from like the structural integrity of the wall. So that was
gotcha.
something I learned in college the first time I went to France. Someone's job was to talk about, someone in our group's job was to talk about the Notre Dame, and they
Oh,
talked about the
okay.
flying buttresses.
Gotcha.
And then I told my little brother, who was like 4 at the time, I was like, you know what those things are called? Flying buttresses. And then he thought it was really funny.
What a great name for an acrobatic act.
Yes, the flying buttresses. Uh, that would be great. Welcome.
Yeah. The
Welcome to
one
the
and
circus.
only.
The global sensations, the flying buttresses. So, Cogsworth accidentally reveals like where the West Wing is because she didn't know
Mm,
really where it was because she just got to the castle and she's like, "Oh," and he's like, "Oh, what? No, don't go there." So she kind of sneaks away as Cogsworth and Lumiere kind of get into an argument. She sneaks away. She sees his like destroyed portrait, like what the beast
mhm.
used to look like as a human, and he's slashed the portrait. She sees the rose, the enchanted rose. It's like under a little glass. She's looking around. The room is trashed.
Yeah, it's pretty
That
yeah,
must be where the beast like that's his rage room.
I guess. So
And she gets caught. The beast catches her there, and he freaks out. He yells at her. He destroys more stuff. I didn't know there was enough intact in that room for him to destroy, but he destroys more.
I just thought he was just breaking up stuff that was already broken. So,
Looks that way. He's just
yeah,
tossing stuff around.
right, yeah. Because it doesn't look like you said there was a stick of furniture that was in one piece in there. So,
Yeah. So she runs out. She's like, I'm not staying here.
yep.
She hops on Philippe, who I guess stayed there with her, and they go galloping out into the snow. The snow's like kind of getting deeper, and Philippe is, they're out in the big scary woods. Philippe's like getting stuck, and they're being circled by wolves. And the wolves start to kind of attack them. They kind of like they fall in a frozen pond. They're trying to get away. It's like a whole thing. And then Belle gets thrown off of Philippe, and the wolves are coming after her. She's trying to beat them off with a stick, and they're coming at her and Philippe. And then, just when all appears to be lost for Belle and Philippe, the beast appears. And he's big. So he's just throwing these wolves around. Get off of her. He's fighting this whole pack of wolves single handedly. He gets them away, but he's clearly sustained some injuries and he like falls over.
Yeah.
And this is a note I wrote. So somehow Belle gets him up on Philippe to go back. She's walking next to the horse. How did she get him on the horse?
Don't, I, I wrote the same thing. I thought, okay, how much does Beast weigh and how much can Bell bench press?
Right. Belle is out here squatting. Because there's a part later in the movie where she kind of picks him up too after he gets, like, towards the end, after he gets stabbed. And I was like,
Yeah, I know. I mean, he's like he's bigger than Gaston,
right. He's a
It,
big old animal. Like,
right. So the fur alone's got to weigh a couple of hundred pounds.
she's got super strength.
Well, she is the heroine. So
She is, but I thought her
I
name meant
know,
beauty, not
I know, but yeah,
fort.
hey,
Forte.
well, they say in times of stress, you can
You
pull,
can lift a car.
you can lift a car off a railroad track. So just
Yeah, I
saying.
guess so. But I did write, how does Belle get him on the horse? In some way, she gets him on the horse, and she like walks next to Philippe as they go back to the castle, and he's got some scratches on his arms. She's tending to his wounds, and he's being a baby about it because he's a
Oh
man.
God, I know, really.
He's like, ow.
Oh, and then he
This is
snarls at her and stuff, and oh, that hurts. Would hurt less if you just settled down, and just
yeah, it's funny. She kind of stands up to him. He's like, it hurts. And he's like, this wouldn't have happened if you wouldn't have run away. And she's like, I wouldn't have run away if you didn't frighten me.
yeah, yeah. If you weren't such a
And
dick.
he's like, well, I wouldn't have frightened you if you didn't go to the West Wing. And she's like, well, I wouldn't go to the West Wing if you didn't hold me here like a prisoner.
There is a lot of
And
good
she's
back and
like,
forth.
you need to control your temper. Have you heard that before, Beast?
Only
Yes.
about 1,000 times.
Hmm. But then she does thank him for saving her life.
Mm-hmm.
So this is like a turning point potentially for them in their relationship. They're talking,
Yep.
they're close. This is progress. And back in the village, Gaston is working on his plan. He's got this very scary man who runs the local asylum. And their plan is they're going to put Maurice in there and they're basically like, Belle, you got to marry me if you want him to get out.
There's the job that I don't want. Let's run the local insane asylum.
Right. In the 1700s.
I know. Can you imagine? By the way, folks, little history lesson, and I'm sure Lindsay will knows this as well. But there was really a place called Bedlam, and that's the reason.
Mm-hmm.
That word now means crazy.
Yes.
It, it,
This particular facility, his name is Monsieur Dark, and he is the warden of the Asylum de Loons, or the Maison de Lune. Um,
Maison de. Okay, so yeah, so
so loon is like moon, but it's also like lunatic, lunacy, that kind of stuff. Um, so he's a scary looking dude.
oh,
He's
he
very
is.
pale with dark circles.
He sort of looks
He,
like death.
I was gonna say he looks like death warmed over.
Mm,
They reheated a corpse
yeah,
and put him in
exactly.
charge of the asylum.
Yeah, he could be one of the
Um,
Walking Dead. He's like,
mhm,
and oh, that's dastardly of you to do that. I love it. It's
mhm,
like,
yeah.
great idea. Yeah.
They go to try to get Maurice, but he's not home because he's going to try to figure out how to rescue Belle on his own. Gaston makes LeFou wait. He like sticks him in the snow. He's like, "You wait here for them to come back." Back at the castle, Belle is seems kind of happier there now. She's like outside playing in the snow, like, feeding birds and stuff. And the beast wants to do something for her because he's catching some feelings.
Yep. Starting to warm up.
And he's like, what should I do? And Cogsworth is like, oh, you could do the normal stuff like flowers, chocolates, promises you don't intend to keep.
I love that.
I love like the good Disney movies. They always have a little something for the kids, but they always get a little something for the adults too.
Exactly. So,
And then Lumiere is like, you need to think about what she really likes and get her something she likes. See, Lumiere coming through with the advice. So this is when she gets the amazing gift, a gift I would love to give anyone, any suitors who are listening to this. Take some cues. He gives her the library. Obviously, most people I don't think have like a castle-sized library, but thankfully the beast is a prince, so he does.
yep.
And it's huge. It's like multiple levels, and it's got the ladders, and it's got all these stairs, and it's gorgeous. And he's like, "It's for you." And Belle's like, "Oh my god!" And everybody, Mrs. Potts and Lumiere and Cogsworth are like, "Okay, there might be something happening here." And poor little Chip is like, "What? What's going on? What are we
Yeah.
talking
Uh-huh.
about?" And they're like, "Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it." So, they start doing more things together. They're eating together, even though the beast eats like a beast.
Oh my God, that was a good part too, where he's like,
he needs
just
he needs the slow feeder bowl. When you give your dog that bowl with like all the plastic parts so they have to eat slower, he needs one of those.
I thought, it's like, why would you make, the beast like something like, I guess it was soup or something like
Mm-hmm.
that, or whatever it is, something that's messy like that instead of giving
Yeah.
him like a big hunk of roast beef or something. So,
Right.
but I'm just
So
saying, so
then he and Belle both they sort of compromise and they both drink out of the bowl and
yeah,
then
but at
they're
least he's not slurping and he's got it all
yes.
over his
She
face
teaches him how to just like drink from it like nicely.
Yeah.
And then they feed the birds together, and she shows him how to be a little bit more like gentle. And this is where we get another song, one that I referenced earlier. It's called Something There.
Mm.
And they're both kind of like, huh, I'm feeling some feelings, basically. Belle's like,
Yeah.
I thought he was a big old jerk, but he's actually like kind of sweet.
Hmm.
And the beast is like, I think she might like me a little bit.
The way she looks at me,
Yeah.
and they
And
do
when
do a
we
good job.
touched, she didn't shudder at my paw.
Oh.
No, it can't be. I'll just ignore. But then she never looked at me that way before. And then
Now,
this is when she goes,
does Robbie sing? Robbie Benson
I
sing
think
the?
so.
Oh, okay, that's his singing voice. Okay, I
Yeah,
couldn't remember if he did the singing as well. So,
I'm pretty sure. And then this is the part in the this is the song where she goes like new and a bit alarming. That which is the same tune from like earlier when she was talking about the book to the sheep.
oh, okay,
But basically they're both kind of like, okay, I think that there's something brewing here. Um and then and then the staff are always like they're also into it. They're like, well, who'd have thought? Well, who'd have known? And who'd have guessed they'd come together on their own? We'll
mm.
wait and see. A few days more. There may be something there that wasn't there before. And then Chip is again like, what's there, mama? And they're like, don't worry about it. You're too young. Shh.
Yeah, yeah, I'll tell you when you get older.
Yeah.
So,
Off to the cupboard with you, darling. And then it's time to get ready for the big night. They're having their big fancy dinner and dance. The sort of iconic one that you can all picture. If you picture Beauty and the Beast, you picture them
right,
Belle in the yellow gown and the Beast
mm.
in like the blue
Beast suit.
jacket. Yeah, I was like, suit? I don't know. Are there pants?
Oh, never thought about that. I
I
think
think
there are
there are
pants. I
pants
think there are pants. Yeah, yeah.
with space for his tail. But they're getting him ready and he's like trying to figure out how to like talk. It's funny because it's like he's like, how do I talk to the girl I like, kinda? And Lumiere's like, all right, Lumiere and Mrs. Potts are like, okay, you got to be like nice, but like not too nice. And you have to be like, or they're like, give her compliments, but also be sincere and like be sweet, but also be um, like, you know what you're talking about. Like, he's like, what? I don't know what to do with it. They're cutting his hair, like bathing him, and then he looks like the cowardly lion after he
I
gets
was
his Oz
just
makeover.
I was just going to say that didn't remind you of the Cowardly Lion makeover.
Because
I
he has the
swear.
bow and like the curls,
The
and
girls.
he's like, I look like an idiot. So they get him together. He looks like himself, and then
Although although his fur is kind of like it's not curly, but
yeah,
it's a little it's
coiffed.
coiffed. There you go.
They've
So
done something.
my God,
Um,
that's funny though that you thought that I thought the same thing.
but like that's exactly what it made me think of.
It is.
Except the Cowardly Lion was happy with the look.
He loved his look. He owned it. So
Yes.
yes.
But
So Bert Lahr,
um,
may he rest in peace.
so yes. But then they come together and they do their little dance to the titular tune, the Academy Award winning Beauty and the
Mm,
Beast, sung by
mm.
Angela Lansbury. Listen, it's a beautiful song. I
It,
just
it,
think it's more straightforward, right? It's just
it,
like one person singing. It's just a more like conventional sounding song.
if you took the other two away, yes, then it's the best song to
Mhm.
me anyway. So, but if
If you took the other two, if you took all the other songs out of the movie, it's the best
right,
song
if
in
you
the
took,
movie.
although the Gaston song was pretty good, but I can see where this one, like you said, it refers to the title and it's
Yeah.
the
Like I don't like
story
the
of.
Kill the Beast song. This is better than Kill the
Oh, no,
Beast.
no, 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 no.
Although I like the tune of it. But yeah, this it is a beautiful song. Tale as old as time, song as old as rhyme. Beauty and the Beast.
Hmm. And then she
Um,
does do a great job of singing it. So
yeah. So they
as
dance and
as
it's
she does.
lovely. Yes. And then they're talking and the Beast is like, basically like, what do you want? I'll give you anything. And she's like, well, the only thing is like I really miss my dad. And he's like, oh, well, I can like help you see your dad. And he takes her and shows her the mirror and she can just like summon a picture of her dad. Um, and he's out there struggling through the woods, trying to get back to her to save her.
Uh-huh.
And she's like, oh no, he could be like sick or hurt. And the beast is like, go to him. And she's like, wait, what? I thought I'm supposed to stay here. And he's like, no, like, go get your father and take the mirror with you so you can always look back and remember me. She thanks him for understanding and she
Hmm.
goes. And she gets her father home. We see that Chip has stowed away in her stuff, so he's with them,
Uh-huh.
which is good later. Um, and the unfortunately, LeFou was still out there
Like a popsicle,
for like days, um,
evidently.
spying, and he alerts Gaston and Monsieur Dark show up to haul Maurice away to the asylum. And Belle's like, they're like, he was saying all this crazy stuff about a beast, and she's like, oh no, the beast is real. And she shows them in the mirror, and it is, to be fair, an unflattering portrait of him. He looks like he's
Yeah.
snarling,
Well,
and they're like,
because well, he's like missing her, so he's
yeah,
like,
he's upset.
yeah, yeah, yeah. She's left, and he's not mad. He's just upset. So
Yeah, so he looks scary, and they're
yeah,
like,
oh
"Oh
yeah,
my god,
well,
he's
yeah,
dangerous. We
yeah,
have
because
to
he's
like
like,
go get him."
"Rrr."
He's like, "Rah." Um, and they're like, "He's dangerous. We have to go kill him." And she's like, "He's not dangerous. Like he's kind and gentle." And they're like, "Yeah, okay, lady,
Yeah,
okay,
you're as crazy as your old man.
right." And then Gaston says he needs to be killed, and then this is when they start singing "Kill the Beast." Mind you, they learned about the Beast 32 seconds ago, and they're like, "Well, he's like this, and he's gonna kill your children, and this is gonna happen." He's been living in that castle for years, and he didn't bother you at all.
Well,
But
it's
suddenly,
like they didn't even know he was there,
right,
and
right,
and
it's
and now,
like it's such mob mentality. It's like the way people talk about stuff these days, right? It's like,
mm,
well, the COVID vaccine's gonna like make you sprout wings. And then all of a sudden everybody's like, well, I'm not taking that vaccine, obviously, because I'm not trying to get X, Y, and Z. And you know what I
right.
mean? It's just like so easy.
Well, wait a minute. Back up. Are you telling me that I was supposed to get wings when I took the vaccine and I
If
didn't get?
only all
I,
them damn boosters and nary a wing.
I know I didn't get one lousy. Yeah, I couldn't even jump, off the ground, much less fly. I'm
Not
bummed.
even a feather.
I
Um,
know.
but yeah, I did write in my notes. I wrote full on mob mentality. People nowadays, honestly.
By the way, I sent a link to that song to a friend of mine about today's climate.
Hmm.
Um, the mob rules.
Yeah.
Um,
Like
Black Sabbath.
literally. Oh yeah. But yeah, Gaston is immediately like, the beast is gonna kill your children, and they're like, oh, and he's gonna come after them in the night. And Belle's like, no. And he's like, we're not safe until the beast is dead. It's like they're eating the dogs and cats. Like that's what this is, right? It's
Yeah.
that, but it's about the beast.
Well, it's
Um,
it's like the classic Frankenstein, where they let's get the pitchforks and the torches and stuff.
basically that. I will just say the only thing about this song that's cool is like it does have a good tune. It's like through the mist, through the woods, through the darkness and the shadows. It's a nightmare, but it's one exciting ride. Um,
It sort of reminds me of there's maybe it's the Sorcerer's Waltz or whatever it is from the Sorcerer's Apprentice
mhm.
where Mickey Mouse in Fantasia, has sort of like that sort of rhythm to it. So maybe I don't know.
Yeah. No, I know what you mean. But it is the tune is good. I think it's like, it's not the most compelling song to me, but
No, well, kill the beast. So
yeah. Oh, they also throw Belle and Maurice into like their cellar
yeah, at
and
their
and
house.
and block the door so they're stuck in there, and they can't stop them from killing the beast or warn him. And Gaston has the mirror with him. Oh, they get to the castle very quickly, by the way.
That's the other thing. It seems like this castle's not that far away, and nobody knew about this. It's like, oh,
Right.
oh, don't
Also,
go to the castle.
if the beast was going to kill you, he would have done it already because he's two
Exactly.
minutes away.
It would have been like, hey, by the way, don't go near the castle because he'll kill you and eat you.
Mm.
It's like, no, he hasn't bothered anybody. So,
The all the household implements realize that this mob is coming after them, with
mhm.
the torches and the pitchforks, and they tell the beast, and the beast is like, I don't care. He's
Yep,
sad. He doesn't care about anything anymore.
he's done.
He's like, whatever, Belle left me. I can die. That's fine.
Yeah, he's
Thankfully, back in the village, Chip is still around, and Maurice's invention is still working. So Chip uses it to bust them out of the cellar, so they can head toward the castle to stop the mob. The furniture, the beast isn't going to put up a fight, but the furniture's like, well, we
We're
are.
that's right. We're gonna defend the castle. So, um, who is it that comes up with the plan? Is it Lumiere?
Yeah, I think it's Lumiere and
Yeah.
then
Could,
Cogsworth and
yeah.
the armoire is gonna help and the oven and like everybody. The fireplace poker and whatever. Everybody's pitching in. So they do manage to drive the people away. Uh only Gaston is still there trying to come after the beast. And the beast again really is like not trying to put up a fight.
No, he's just like sort
Um
of like I think he's still in his room, isn't he? Because he didn't even
yeah.
come downstairs during all the big melee.
Yeah, he's like up in the West Wing with the rose.
Yeah, yeah.
But
And the
then
rose is starting to.
it's on its last legs. It's
Yep.
we're really almost there. Um but Gaston comes after him anyway, and they end up basically fighting on the roof in the rain, which seems precarious. It is precarious.
Yeah.
Um and the beast like gets the better of him obviously because he's a big giant beast and he at one point is like he's got Gaston by the throat and is dangling him over the edge of the roof. So like he could easily kill Gaston. But then he's like, "You know what? No." Also, because Gaston's like taunting him the whole time. He's like, "Oh, you could
Oh,
think she would love you? Ew, growth. You're a beast."
I know, like
Um,
this thing is like twice your size and probably twice as strong as you are, and you're sitting there like and making like trying to piss him off. I'd be like, ooh, hey, buddy, hey,
right.
let's slow down a little bit. So,
Exactly. Belle kind of arrives just as this is happening. The beast is like, "You know what? I'm not gonna like. I don't care." And he lets him go. And then the beast sees that Belle has come back, so then he's trying to go to her.
hmm
But then Gaston, his
rat
bitch
bastard,
ass.
exactly,
I literally wrote my notes. Gaston's bitch ass stabs him in the back.
right.
What a jerk move. What a cowardly move.
hmm
Stab him in the back. Of course, Gaston like loses his footing and falls to his death like he deserves. You started this. Like you asked for this.
I did write down though. I forgot. I forgot. Didn't know Gaston dies, and because Disney movies, but I talked about this before.
Some
They're
gruesome deaths.
some gruesome
Some
deaths.
gruesome
For
deaths.
some of the characters
Hmm
in the Disney movies.
Gaston, Ursula,
hmm
Scar.
Yeah.
Is his name Clayton? I think his name's Clayton, the bad guy in Tarzan.
Oh, right. Yeah.
So, there's
Yeah.
some
Yeah. There's a price to pay.
or even like in in the Incredibles syndrome, doesn't he get like he gets sucked into like a jet
Oh,
engine
yeah, he
because
does.
he has a cape. No capes.
No capes
So yeah, some gruesome deaths
for the baddies.
for bad guys, for sure, for sure. So, once again, the beast is kind of slumped over the side of the railing of this thing and Belle pulls him up
I know. It's like,
onto this little balcony.
because he's like gone.
What can she squat? What is Belle squatting?
I don't know, but I'm hoping that she's in the Olympics when it comes around
Truly
next time.
power lifter.
Exactly. So in the unlimited category.
Mm-hmm. So basically, she lays him down and he's like dying in her arms. And he's like, "I'm so happy you came back." Like again, it's very sad. He's like
Oh
dying.
yeah, yeah.
And she's like, "I'm so sorry. Like I'm too late. This was all my fault." And he's like, "No, no." And he presumably dies. She says she loves him. And right after she says it, the last petal falls off the rose. And they're all like, "Oh no.
Yeah.
Like it's
It's
over."
yeah.
But then some magic rains down. It's like because it's been raining and then some like magic sparkles start raining down.
I thought it was at first I thought it was like hailstones. It was like, is it hailing?
Oh my god, it's getting worse.
Yeah, it's gonna be like
Go
plague.
inside.
It's locusts and
Frogs.
yeah.
But magic rains down And then the beast's body kind of like lifts up and spins around, and like his cape is wrapped around him, and then he transforms into a hot man. His name is Adam, by the way. They don't say it, but his name is Adam.
I didn't know that.
Um, yeah,
Okay.
that's like
Did not know that.
if you like read like it's like Prince Adam.
Oh,
His name's
okay.
Adam. And Belle is looking like, what the heck is happening?
Mhm.
And it's so funny because then when he like comes back down to the ground and he's like, Belle, it's me. And she's looking at him like, who?
Who the hell are you?
But then it's like she could looks in his eyes and she recognizes that it's him.
Yeah.
And then they kiss and it's great. And then all this magic swirls around and there's fireworks. And then all of a sudden it's daytime. Like it was nighttime and then the
I
sun comes
know.
out.
Yeah. And yeah.
And the castle is like bright and beautiful. All the it's not like gray and dark and stone with gargoyles. It's like white marble and bright
And
and shiny.
and the gargoyles turn into like statues of like people or angels and
Yes.
stuff. Yeah. So it comes,
Yes.
yeah. So everything's pretty and yeah, and bright and stuff.
Yes.
Yeah.
And everybody turns human again.
Yes.
Which brings me to the question. Mrs. Potts appears to be elderly, and Chip is like 5. Is she his mother or his grandmother?
So
Because it doesn't seem possible that she should be his mother.
you and I never thought of it until you brought it up.
But
And
he
I
calls her
honestly,
mama.
he calls her mama. I just always assumed that she was his mother, but now you do bring this into question. So, and
It's
it's a legitimate
confusing.
question. It is.
Yeah.
So,
But they still have the same personalities. We get to
yes,
see Lumiere like ho 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 with the feather duster. She comes by and
who looks like, a
she's a
French
maid. She's in
maid.
the French maid outfit. She dusts him, and he's like, oh, and like follows her. And Cogsworth is still all stuffy, and his little mustache looks like the hands of a clock, and it's nice.
Yeah.
And then we see Belle and the prince Adam dancing again in their outfits. So she's in the yellow again, and he's in the blue, in a human suit now, not a beast suit.
Gotta wonder,
Um,
does he have a tailor on site there? It's
he
just,
must. He had that little coat rack was cutting his hair, so certainly
well, that's
someone can
true. So,
sew.
yeah. So, yeah. Yeah.
Um, But one also a question I had about this scene, I was like, is this their wedding? Because Maurice is like in a t-shirt. Maurice is looking very cash for this. Is
I,
this just a ball to like celebrate? Or
I,
like
I don't know. I
I
don't
wrote
know.
like what is the occasion? Because Maurice and Mrs. Potts are looking very casual. Like, is this a wedding? So, anyways, they're gonna live happily ever after, and Chip's like, do I have to sleep in the cupboard still? And they're all like, ha 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 ha. And
It
that's
is
the
cute at the
it
end. So,
is. And then also the footstool turns back into a dog.
dog. And
I'm so mad that she put the curse on the dog. The dog didn't do anything.
I know. And the dog was friendly. Like in the beginning, when he like puts himself underneath Maurice's feet when he's sitting in the master's
Yeah,
chair so he can put his feet up on him,
right.
So
It's a
like
very friendly dog
it
footstool.
is.
It was
So
outside playing with Belle in the snow.
yeah,
Uh,
exactly.
but yeah, so that's the end. We get then the I feel like this was also common. This is common generally with Disney movies, but you get the movie version of a song, but then you get the pop version of a song. So during the credits, they
Oh,
play it's
oh,
Celine Dion and Peebo Bryson singing Beauty and the Beast. This happens a lot. Like in, for example, like
oh,
Mulan, right? Like Reflection. You have
yeah.
the movie version that Lea Salonga sings, but then there was a Christina Aguilera version
I
that
did
was
not
like
know that.
popularly released. And same with like, I think like Let It Go, there was 2 versions. So this happens sometimes with like Disney songs. There will be like the movie version and then like the pop version. So
I didn't. I never
yeah.
noticed that.
If you watch
So,
the credits of this, you hear Celine Dion and Peebo Bryson, which is like so early 90s. This is like, it reminds me of like the compilation CDs that you used to see infomercials for at like 2 a.m. Like it's
uh-huh.
very that.
Yeah. Um,
Here and now.
well,
Um,
but that was popular on the radio and stuff back then. Now that you mention it, the Peebo Bryson and Celine Dion version of it.
yeah, that makes sense. There was a
Yeah.
Peebo, I think they also did a Peebo Bryson and someone did a whole new world. They did like a pop version of
Oh,
a whole
for
new
the
world
Aladdin.
when
Yeah.
Aladdin came
Yeah.
out
Yeah.
too.
You know what? I
So
think you're, yep. Yep. Yep.
it
Yep.
was
Yep.
I think it's I have it on my I have the whole Aladdin soundtrack on my phone. Um, it's funny when I occasionally put it on shuffle and then I get just like the random like orchestration of like
Oh,
Chase in the bazaar, like or like the Cape of Wonders. But yeah, this period of time, they call it the Disney Renaissance, right? Because a lot of the movies that we think of, other classic Disney animated films like Cinderella and Snow White, those were from like Walt Disney
before,
was alive, right? Those were
right,
like the
those were from the
40s,
40s, and yeah, because Snow White
50s.
was his first, I think it was like, yeah, 1941 or something, and
Yeah.
Bambi was from the 40s.
Yeah.
So
And Sleeping Beauty was very old.
I think
Even like,
Sleeping Beauty was 50 in the 50s, maybe, I
yeah, even
think.
like 101 Dalmatians was pretty old and like
That was in the
Fantasia.
60s. Yeah.
So then there was like a period of time where they like weren't really
Oh,
doing
yeah.
much of
Well,
anything.
I mean, you had a few things like there was, well, Bed Knobs and Broomsticks, I think were in the 60s. And then there was a few things, but in the 70s. But yeah, it mostly, then they went to stuff like Herbie the Love Bug,
Mm-hmm.
and movies like that.
Yeah.
That darn cat. Those are,
Mm-hmm.
I remember those because those were the ones that, we would go to the theater and see because I was a kid.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
It's like there's a lot of actually I like a lot of these that were in like the not Renaissance period, but like I'm looking at a timeline. So the first one was Snow White, which was in 1937.
Mhm.
Then in the 40s you had Pinocchio, Fantasia, Dumbo, Bambi.
Oh, I forgot about Dumbo. Yeah.
Um and these are like the major ones. There's other ones like Song of the South and Fun and Fancy Free, but Cinderella was 1950, Alice in Wonderland 51, Peter Pan, Lady and the Tramp, Sleeping Beauty, 101 Dalmatians was 61. Then you had Sword in the Stone, Mary Poppins, The Jungle Book in the 60s, The Aristocats, love The Aristocats,
Love the Aristocats.
Bedknobs and Broomsticks, Robin Hood, The Rescuers. I loved The Rescuers when I was a kid.
Did you? That was a good one. Yeah.
I got a rat. I know he's not a mouse, but I named him Bernard after
Oh,
Bernard from
okay.
The Rescuers. Pete's Dragon, and then in the 80s you had you can see the tone is definitely different because in the
The
80s
Fox
you
and the
had
Hound.
Fox and the Hound, sad, The Black Cauldron, scary, The Great Mouse Detective, Ratigan did scare me, I will say. Um,
Okay.
Roger Rabbit,
Oh, I
Oliver and
forgot they
Company,
did Roger Rabbit. Yeah.
yeah, and then in '89 you had The Little Mermaid,
And
and
that was when it started, really. It wasn't, don't you
mhm,
think it was?
yes, yes, because you had like the run of like The Little Mermaid. You also had the Rescuers Down Under, but that's not as I wouldn't count that in the caliber of the rest of these.
No,
But it's
no.
like Little Mermaid, Beauty and the Beast, Aladdin, The Lion King, Pocahontas, and then you get into Pixar with Toy Story.
Right.
So, and then you have Hunchback of Notre Dame, Hercules, Mulan, Tarzan, and that's like all
Tarzan was
that's through the
okay.
'90s. I think Tarzan is a
Yeah.
really good soundtrack. The Phil Collins soundtrack of Tarzan.
Oh, yeah, yeah,
Good.
yeah. Oh, it's excellent. Yeah. I agree with you there.
But yeah, I think Beauty and the Beast, it's just a good movie. The songs are great. They're so catchy. I'm about to get in my car after this and I'm probably going to listen to them and
Oh, okay.
sing just sing the full. I didn't sing the full songs cuz I'm not trying to get Disney to come after us, you know. We don't have Disney
Oh,
suing us money. We don't have
that's
any money. We
true.
don't make any money off of this.
Right. Yeah. So, yeah, for
Disney,
that.
to be clear,
Right.
we
Yeah.
make
So,
$0.
this in Disney, this is in tribute to you. So we are not trying to
Yes.
infringe upon any of your trademarks. So
Yes. Oh, do you know what else is good? We were talking about like the other like spin-offs, but did you watch when they did like the live musical of this with Josh Groban as the Beast and
yes, I
her
did. As a
as
matter of
Belle?
fact,
I thought that was actually really nice.
that was well. The music was what the songs are so good, and they did have people doing a really good job with those. Yeah, I forgot
Yeah.
about that. Yeah, you're absolutely right.
Yeah, and I think like they sort of did like just like the big numbers.
Right.
And
It was
I think it was really nice. And like cuz they got people that can actually sing. And obviously like Josh Groban and like her. It's on
revisit.
Disney Plus.
Well,
It
I
came up
know what
as a
I'm watching.
yeah, I was because it came up, like when
I
you put
might
in
have to
Beauty and the
watch
Beast,
Treasure Planet tonight.
you get all the options of Beauty and the Beast. But yeah, I think people if you haven't seen The live one, I think it's fun. Not the live action movie with Emma Watson. No offense, Emma Watson. The like live special that they did for the 30th anniversary. It's good because I think in Gaston they did the. Remember I said in the
Yeah,
stage play they do the
the
like
clinking
the
thing.
clinking thing. I
Okay,
think they
so
did it in that
but I do remember them doing the yeah, like and he was dressed in the
the outfit.
costume, yeah, the
Yeah.
outfit and stuff. Yeah, that was
And I
good.
remember at the beginning because like her is like walking through like the Disney backlot doing like bonjour,
Oh,
bonjour,
oh,
bonjour,
oh,
bonjour.
yeah.
So yeah, that was cool. That was cool. I need to watch that again. But yeah, I think it's just like, listen, again, if we think too much about the story, like if ladies, if a man starts screaming and destroying things when he's mad at you, no, you shouldn't date him. This is a fake story, but I do think there is something to sort of like recognizing one's capacity to love and be loved in return,
Mhm.
recognizing that beauty extends. It's not the about the outside, it's the inside, right? If it was about the outside, she would have married Gaston.
Right.
And, the Beast talked about her seeing him as a monster, and it was because he was acting like a monster. She stopped seeing him as a monster when he started being nice.
When he stopped
um,
acting, yeah. So
yeah,
and also the capacity for people to change. Don't you think?
exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
That
Exactly. And I think also we get from the beginning that Belle like wants a life beyond that little town anyways. Like she feels like an outcast. She can relate in some way to the Beast being a literal outcast. And
very good. Yep. Good
I
point.
think that's cool. I think that's cool. But yeah. Um I just love Belle. She's my favorite. She's just like a kind of a bookish weirdo and that's that's how I feel sometimes. Not in a bad way. Just
No,
like,
no,
you
I was going
know,
to say, yeah, hopefully you don't, may look at yourself in a, in a disparaging way. I think that's a
no.
positive
I
way.
don't think she looked at herself in a disparaging way.
No,
Everybody
I
else in
agree. Yeah,
town did.
she just wanted something better,
Yeah.
for herself, and then, thought that, the only way I can find this is to, be somewhere else or go somewhere
Mhm.
else, and
And
like you said,
until then,
find
I'm just gonna get that from my books.
right, and then find somebody, like she said, who doesn't plan, something more than somebody else's plans. She
Yeah.
wants, yeah,
I
she
want
wants to
so
be
much
the
more than they've got planned. I want adventure in the great wide somewhere. I want it more than I could tell. And for once, it might be grand to have someone understand. So she also wants to like connect with someone, just like the Beast
exactly,
did.
yeah, that someone
So,
that shares that vision or that dream, and like you said at the beginning of our podcast, isn't that what we all really want?
hmm
Somebody to understand who we are, and then in turn accept us for who we are, and share our journey with them, or share the journey with us. So,
hmm Yep. Yeah.
so
Exactly. So, yeah, like I said, I think I was a Disney kid and these movies like still I can watch them today. I could listen to the songs, I could sing all the songs. Disney songs are some of my shower and car go-tos for
hey,
singing
I
because
think you
they're
have
great.
excellent taste. Yeah. So
They're great songs. Shout out to Alan Menken. Rest in peace to Howard Ashman, who
yeah,
I will also say, guess where he's from? Baltimore, Maryland.
I did not know that.
He's buried in Reisterstown. hmm
Really? Oh,
hmm
okay. There you
So
go.
shout out to Baltimorean Howard Ashman.
Very,
And,
very much so.
we still benefit greatly from his genius
Oh, well,
today.
these are timeless classics.
hmm
Yeah,
Yeah.
like I
So
said, we're still talking about this 30 years, later. So,
exactly. Like
35 years later.
literally Little Shop of Horrors, Little Mermaid, Beauty and the Beast, Aladdin. Like
Come on, you could make two CDs out of that.
exactly. And like all bangers, no skips.
Yeah, the
They're good
greatest
songs.
hits. They could all be greatest hits.
hmm
So
I know now. God, now I'm gonna have just like little shop of horrors, just stuck in my head.
feed me.
Feed me, Seymour.
So anything else you want to share with our audience?
No, I think, I was really trying to think about it, and I think I just can't deny the impact that this period of Disney movies had on me growing up. Like this
Sure.
is so much of what I enjoyed and like all my Halloween costumes and like all of my toys, just like everything. I used to go see Disney on Ice all the time. So like it was just like I was all Disney all the time. So I loved going to like Disney World. I have a picture. I think I might my mom has it. I think she shared it maybe for my birthday, but like a picture of me and Belle at Disney World and
Really?
yeah.
That's great. That's really
Mhm.
cool.
Mhm.
So,
So, but yeah, like these movies were pretty iconic, and like I said, I think now it might not have been like my number one at the time, but Beauty and the Beast, I think now is probably my favorite.
okay.
Yeah, I think it's just a good one. It's just a good movie, and the Oscars just happened, so I thought it appropriate to pick a movie that was nominated for Best Picture as an animated film. So, and if you look it up, like it was it was like one of the highest grossing animated movies of all time. I think at the
Mhm.
time it might have been the number one, and then obviously other ones have surpassed it, but like, and it had even on subsequent like re-releases, it grossed a ton of money. So
Oh, yeah.
it was very popular and obviously like a really great critical reception to the point of like Oscar nominations. So
I think all the movie critics, or for the majority of the movie critics, lauded it not as an animated movie, but just as a great movie. It was just the
yeah.
storyline, the dialogue, everything they said was, it was, yeah. The fact that it was animated was secondary to
Mm-hmm.
its standing as a movie. Like you said, enough for it to be nominated for an Academy Award in the regular category, not just as
Yeah.
an animated feature. Which
Right? Like
they
this
have.
was versus Silence of the Lambs,
I know, or
which is
JFK.
crazy.
Yeah, you had.
Yeah.
Oh, we have Oliver Stone, and we have
Jonathan Demme
yes,
and
and
Beauty and the Beast.
and Beauty and the Beast. So yeah, I might have to go back and watch it. And the nominees are,
I know.
it's
Oh,
like,
that's
did they
amazing.
show Robbie Benson in the audience? As
I know.
that would have
I
been
wonder
cool.
if they did performances because usually at the Oscars they didn't do it this year, but they do the best song
Yeah,
nominees all
yeah.
perform. I wonder if
No,
they
I
did
know.
or if they did like a medley of them since they had three of them.
I was going to say do a mashup of them. So
Yeah. Little town be our guest tale as old as time. They just like went right through them very
there
quickly,
you go.
maybe.
Yeah. So,
But yeah, it's a great one. If you haven't watched it in a while, check it out. If you haven't listened to the songs in a while, check them out.
oh yeah.
And you know, like I said, I know people like have their qualms about listen, I consider myself a feminist woman. I know that like we don't want to tell girls that like the goal in life is to like find a man and like be a princess or whatever, but to me the goal in life is to get a library and that's what I relate to about Belle.
There
So
you go. So yeah,
um,
and look, if you find somebody along the way, that's just that's an extra cherry on top of the sundae. So
yeah,
yeah,
exactly. We're
yeah. So
humans.
somebody,
Companionship
yeah,
is something.
exactly. So before we sign off, I'd
Hmm.
like to. Can I have a couple of minutes?
Yes, go ahead.
So I want to take a few minutes to talk to our listeners, to let you all know something. So, or how I feel about this. This is our 50th episode, and we're coming up on a year of doing this podcast. If any of you all enjoy our podcast, I want you all to know that 99% of this comes from Lindsay. It's her imagination and her creativity and her energy that drives this. Her research into the movies that we do, whether it's a movie that I pick or a movie that she picks, Lindsay does everything. She does the recording, she does the editing, she does the posting, she does all of this, and she takes the time to do this, and she keeps me focused and keeps me energized. And I just want to let everyone know how much I appreciate you, Lindsay, and how much this means to me. And I want to thank you for this past year. This has been a terrific experience for me, and I hope you've enjoyed it as well. And I hope our listeners do. And I just want them to know how much work you put into this.
Well, thank you, Jim. That's really nice. It was, I feel only, it's only appropriate. This was my idea to rope you into this. So, I knew what I was getting into work wise and I think I've gotten into a rhythm with it. So it's actually, it's pretty good. And, I will say I really appreciate your openness always. I know the movies that I pick are like movies that like 10-year-old girls watched in the 90s, and you're always open to them and uh take them seriously, and things like that. And even if things are very much outside of your experience, always going into them with an open mind and looking to enjoy them, which I appreciate. These are the conversations that we have like anyways, so I thought that it would be nice for other people to hear them too and just hear some different perspectives on things. So that's what I was hoping for, and I hope that people have enjoyed it because I've enjoyed doing it. So
That's great. Yeah. So have I. So is and I look forward to many more podcasts, many more recording sessions. So
absolutely, absolutely. So stay tuned, people. We don't plan on stopping. We have very long lists of movies, so there's more to come. Wherever you're listening to this, please subscribe so you can get our episodes every Monday when they come out, delivered right to you on whatever platform. You can rate, leave a review, leave a comment. Hopefully, it's nice, or we're going to send the beast after you. You can follow us on Instagram at Some of Our Parts Pod. There you can see all the movies that we've talked about. This is number 50, so there's a bunch. And on some of the episodes, we even talked about more than one movie. So
ex-
even more than 50 movies.
exactly.
We post previews of what's coming and whatever else comes to mind. And with that, au revoir.
We
Bye.
bye bye.